Hi and welcome everyone to this microservices series. I'm Krish and really excited to have you here. I have been working with microservices for a while now and built some real world projects with it. And during this journey, I realized that while there are plenty of tutorials out there, many focus heavily on coding without really explaining the core ideas behind the microservices, the why and how they fit into the bigger picture, right? So I decided to start this series to share my experience and help you to understand microservices from the ground up in a way easy to grasp and actually useful in the real world, right? So before we get started, here are some prerequisites that I expect from you before starting this series, because we are going to discuss from a lot of things in the entire series. So you must be knowing all these things before you get started. One is Java and Spring Boot. So this series will be around the tech stack of Java and Spring Boot. So like we are going to build a project of microservices in the Java Spring Boot only. So I expect you to know little bit of Java basics and the Spring Boot basics. One is REST APIs. So we are going to heavily use this concept of REST APIs. So you should be knowing the what REST APIs are, how to use REST APIs, how to do the request, HTTP request, and how to get the response. All these things you must be knowing regarding the REST APIs, how they work, and how the client server communication works, right? Some understanding of databases. So as we are going to discuss discussing regarding the microservices, all the service is going to having their own separate databases, right? So that is going to cause few problems that we are going to face, and for that we are going to understand how to solve those issues with the databases and how to fix those issues. And for that you must be requiring the knowledge of DBMS as well, right? The session, the transactions, and the asset properties, all these things you must be knowing. So that's why the DBMS basic knowledge is also required. Some small Spring Boot project you should have built that is beneficial, because we are going to make a very large scale project in this. So if you are going to directly jump into those things, might be difficult for you. So it is beneficial if you have built some mini projects like full stack or only backend project using Spring Boot. So that is one beneficial thing that you should be having, right? uh, Talking about what we are going to cover in this entire series. uh, this will be complete series including the basics to the advanced concept, like Docker, Kubernetes, and lot of other things, Kafka, and lot of more things, right? So here are the list of things that I have mentioned that we are going to cover: foundations and philosophy behind microservices, why microservices exist, and what are the benefits of using them, what are the trade-offs, the core principles like loose coupling and bounded context. All these things we are going to cover. So that is about the foundations. Anatomy of microservices and how they communicate, like all these services, how they communicate together with each other using Eureka service discovery, API gateway, the config servers, and the communication, all the communication styles that we are going to discuss. Real world design patterns and architecture best practices, like important design patterns like saga pattern, distributed for the distributed transactions, circuit breakers for the resilience, event driven architecture like using Kafka or the RabbitMQ, caching strategies like Redis, and lot of all the industry design patterns, real world design patterns that we are going to cover in this. Developer mindset and how to manage microservices projects, like all these things including like the logging, monitoring, versioning, testing, or CI, setting up the CI/CD pipelines, that is included in this, building a complete project to tie all this concept together. So after the end of this series, once we learn all the basics, once we understand the fundamentals, the foundations are clear, we are going to build a complete project to tie all these topics that we have learned so far. So that will be the beneficial, like, very most important thing. Like, without building a project, you are not going to understand all these things. So at the end, we are going to build a very good and complete project of the microservices architecture. So that is a one plus thing. So yeah, that's about what we are going to cover. So like, without wasting time, let's get started with our very first video. Like, we will start with the story of monolithic, why they are, and why we have came to this microservices architecture. So let's get started. Okay, so let's get started with why microservices. Here in the picture, you can see one image is having a monolithic architecture, and at right side there is a microservice architecture. And you can see the microservices architecture is containing the small services, and all the services having the different database of their own, right? In the monolithic architecture, everything is under the one server, and there is one database. So uh, let's say you built a monolithic application, like everything in a one code base. At first it is very easy, like one repo, one database, one deployment. But over the time, as your application grows, things get starts to break. Let's say one small bug can bring the entire application down. Deployment becomes very scary and slow. Like, you have made few change, then your entire application needs to be deployed again. So everything goes down again, right? All the things are shut down for a while. So that is one problem. Teams step on each other's tools, like some bug has happened, like, then nobody knows why it was happened, like, who has done it, and why it came to the picture. So that's when the idea of microservices came in, and they split the big application into the smaller independent services, and each one of them focuses on a one business capability. So that's why the microservices were introduced, and there are a lot of beneficial of microservices that we are going to discuss as well, right? uh, let's take one example, department store versus mall. So like, in the left side there is a picture of department store. For example, you might be knowing about Big Bazaar or D-Mart, right? And in the right side there is a big mall image, right? So uh, as you know, in the department store, you can consider that as a monolithic application. Like, one giant department store is there, and everything is under one roof. Like, all the things, like in this picture you can also see, like, everything is there in the one roof, right? But for example, if one section is under the renovation, then all the customers are blocked, right? Other sections cannot operate due to the one section is shut down. So you can consider this as a monolithic application, right? If one thing causes issues, then an entire application goes down, right? In the right side, like in the malls, there are shopping mall. Each shop is running independently. Like, one shop is not dependent on the other shop. Like, the everything, including the shop closing time, opening time, the updates in the shop, the interior of the shop, right? The design of the shop, the the brand that shop is of, right? And like, an independent shop can expand without affecting any other shop. Like, one shop can be very huge, other shop can be very small. One shop can be very fancy, other shop can be very simple. So you can relate that with the microservices example. Like, each service is running independently, no service cause issue to other services, like they are very loosely coupled, and any particular service can expand without affecting any other service, right? So that is the analogy of, like, real life example you can relate with the department store to the monolithic architecture and the shopping mall to the microservices architecture. Now let's discuss what microservices solve. Independent deployment, as I have told, each service can expand by their own, and if that service is, let's say, upgraded, then you have to deploy only that particular service, right? Like let's say there are A, B, C, D, four services, and B services is getting updated. A, B, C, D all are running on a different container, on a deployed differently. So if B is upgraded, you don't need to redeploy A, C, and D, right? Only redeploy B. So that is one beneficial. Technology flexibility. Let's take the same example, A, B, C, D. Uh, B can be of the language of, let's say, C sharp in the .NET microservices, and C and D can be of, let's say, Spring Boot microservices. Like all the technology is different of A, B, C, D, but you can use the all those microservices together as well, right? So that gives us a technology flexibility, better scalability. Let's say A is the service that is used by so many users. Let's say you have 1 million users that is using A service, but B, C, D are only used by, let's say, 50,000 users. So you need to only scale up A service only, right? No need to worry about B, C, and D. Like let's say you create multiple instances of A that will handle all those requests of 1 billion users, right? But B, C, D are not having that much traffic, so like you can have limited containers or limited instances of those services. So like that makes one benefit of scalability of as well, right? Teams can own specific services. Like lot of services can be divided into the small tasks, and one team can be focusing on a one particular service. Let's say one service is user service, one service is account service, right? So each team can look out into the one particular service. So that are the few problems that can be solved using microservices. There are a lot more. Once we go through this series, you will understand more deeper about this. But yeah, that's not magic. uh, Microservices come with their own set of challenges. Like we are getting a lot of benefits, but also there are few challenges that microservices comes with. Let's talk about when not to use microservices. When your team is very small, like you have like 5 or 10 people only in your team, then I don't think that makes any sense to have a microservices application, because the the management becomes very difficult in those scenarios, and like the dividing task is also becomes is can also become difficult. So that's not a right choice when you to use microservices, right? When your application is simple, let's say your application is not having so much traffic, like only 1000, 5000, 10,000, 50,000 users are only there, then I think only monolithic architecture can solve this that traffic, and no need to like make one giant large scale microservice application. So yeah, you don't have proper DevOps setups, right? So as we include microservices architecture, there are a lot of services. Then each services needs to be monitored separately, right? Like we need to check every time like any service is not down, and everything is running completely fine. So you need proper DevOps setup. You need proper DevOps team that is monitoring each and every services, right? Like including deployment, testing, CI/CD pipeline, that each service should be maintained properly. So if you don't have any proper DevOps setups, then choosing monolithic becomes more efficient choice there, right? Over engineering early on can make things worse. It's okay to start with monolithic and break it down later, right? So like in start, if you think like my application is will be having 1 million user in the future, so let's directly start with the microservices architecture, then I don't think so that makes any sense. Once you start, keeping in the monolithic is better option. And over the time, if you think will need to switch to microservices because your traffics get higher and higher and your application is not able to tackle those traffic, then you can shift to the microservice. It's not that much difficult to shift from monolithic to microservices. Many large companies has done it earlier also, so I don't think so starting directly from microservices will help you further, right? So no need to over engineering things from start only, right? Let's talk about some core principles of the microservices. One is loose coupling, right? Each and every services should dependent on each other very lessly. Like no strong dependency between all the services should be there. Uh, each services might use data of each other services, but that thing should be very minimal because uh, you can you if tight coupling is there, then you cannot use that particular services in your different application, right? Like keeping loose couplings makes benefit that you can use that particular services on the other application as well. Let's say you have one service, payment service, and you have two microservices applications, right? So if the loose coupling is there, you can use those that payment service in the both of those microservices applications, so you don't need to make different service again, so you can reuse those services, right? High cohesion, each service should not do one thing, should do one thing and do it very well, right? Each services should be focusing on the particular thing, and that thing should be properly done by that service. Payment services should be properly doing its all work including all the payments, right? That is the principle of that high cohesion. Autonomy, so services should be independently deployable, right? As I've discussed, like any particular change in one particular service is there, so that service should be deployable independently. Like uh, if I'm having a b c d and b is going to redeploy again, then a c d do not need to redeploy again. That is what we want to achieve in this principle, right? Resilience, like failure on one service should not crash the system. Like say we are having again take one for that same example, a b c d services are there. Let's say due to any issue d goes down and a b c are still running on a different server. So if d goes down, your entire application do not need to shut down. There might be few features that D content then not that cannot be applicable for that particular time until D gets reactivated, but ABC should be still running and some of your application should be giving some response, right? Entire application doesn't gets down, right? So that is one principle of the microservices. Okay, so let's talk about some real talk and myths regarding the microservices. Microservices will make your application faster, not always. That microservices doesn't mean your application will be very fast, because as your application grows, there will be a lot of services, and if inter-service communication is very high, let's say one service is calling four different services, then your HTTP requests or the web client request gets more and more, and each request comes with some delay, so that might be increasing your delay as well. So it might be slow down your application as well. So microservices doesn't always mean that will make your application faster, right? You need microservices to scale. No, that's not compulsory. Monolithic can also scale very fine. You can do horizontal scaling in monolithic as well if your application is not that much large scale, if but user scale is large, then also you can have scalability in monolithic application. And many large companies still use monolithic application and they work very well on that, right? You can just split your app and be done. No, that microservices doesn't come with that concept. Like pick one monolithic application and just divide into small parts and you are done with the microservices. No, that doesn't mean, right? And that don't solve the problem, and that creates more problem. you have to understand the design and the communication between the services, and how you break down the entire application into the small services. That is very crucial task, right? And like if you split down application into 20 different microservices, right, then communication between all the services become 10x harder, right? Because you have to trace all the communication between all the services. Whether you in the monolithic, it was easier to use, it was easier to use the other services, small services, because the communication was directly in that part. But here the each service is different, so like you have to trace all the communication between the services, and that becomes 10x harder, right? So the point is microservices are about team and system structure, not just cutting code base apart, right? So yeah, like that's very important thing, like dividing the monolithic in the small codes or small services doesn't makes your application microservices application. You have to understand the concept, the bounded context of the each services, and the reason should be very proper, like why you have divided those services and why you have keep separate all those services, right? So that should be there, and like no random distribution should be there. So that's all about this video. Like we haven't covered any code base or any coding part here. This was a very fundamental video, and like only we are talking about only basics and the concepts of microservices, why to use, when to use, and when not to use, and some problems with it, right? What's in the next video? In the next videos we are going to discuss about this service discovery, the Eureka service discovery, API gateways, configuration servers, and how services talk to each other, right? All these things we are going to discuss in the next video. Also we are going to code side by side as well, so you can understand very easily. So that's about the next video that we are going to cover. I hope you liked the video, and thank you for watching. And let's wait for the next video, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much.